Good evening and welcome to the April 12th, 2022 Development Review Commission hearing. The Development Review Commission is created to hold public meetings and hearings to provide analysis and recommendations to the City Council regarding general land use policies and applications, where the Commission has recommendatory power, and to render final decisions on specified applications where the Commission has final decision-making power, including but not limited to all aspects of a proposed and future development. The Development Review Commission recognizes that the creation of a desirable environment throughout the city for residents, businesses, and industry is a prime requisite for the interdependence of land values, aesthetics, and good site planning. By promoting harmonious, safe, attractive, and compatible development that is therefore considered to be in the best interests of public health, safety, and general welfare. The appeal of the Development Review Commission's decisions, and this isn't particularly important tonight, and I'll bring this back up again after we vote on the cases before us. But any person aggrieved by a final decision of the Development Review Commission may file an appeal to the City Council within 14 calendar days after the Development Review Commission has rendered its decision. Development Review Commission recommendations to the City Council are not final decisions. With us this evening, first of all, we have several alternate commissioners joining us. First time I think that all three have sat together. Joining us remotely is alternate Commissioner Rihanna Corbett. Also with us to my left, alternate Commissioner Charles Redmond and alternate Commissioner Linda Spears. With me to my right, Commissioners Michelle Schwartz, Vice Chair Stephen Bauer, Commissioner Phil Amorosi, and I'm Commissioner Mike DiDomenico. With us from staff in attendance this evening, Steve Abrahamson, Saparnadis Gupta, Lee Jimenez, Lily Drosos, Joanna Berry, and Jason Wolf running the board. Members of the public, and I think we may have some that wish to be heard tonight. If you're here just to listen, that's great, welcome. If you wish to be heard on a specific case, before that case is heard, fill out a card that you can find in the back of the room and bring that forward to one of the staff members. And that way we don't miss you and we make sure to get you scheduled. Oh, or they're right up there. You can just... Either way, they're simple to fill out. And if you've never done it before, we'll guide you through the process. It's really not all that scary. All right, the agenda tonight is fairly simple, straightforward. We've got two items. Actually, we've got four items. The first two are considerations of Development Review Commission meeting minutes from March 22nd, 2022. We have both the study session minutes and the regular meeting minutes. We discussed those in pre-session. We had one small typo to correct. So I would entertain a motion for approval of those two sets of minutes with that edit.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the DRC study session and regular meeting minutes from March 22nd with the minor typo corrected.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Amorosi and seconded by Commissioner Schwartz. We have two members that were not present for that meeting, so they'll be abstaining. That will be Commissioners Corbett and Spears. And by a show of hands, all those in favor of the motion. And Commissioner Bauer also, Vice Chair Bauer also abstaining. Those minutes are approved 4-0. First case is a use permit case. This is item number 3 on the agenda. It's titled Big D Smoke LLC. First question, is the applicant here in attendance, or do we have any evidence that they've joined us remotely on WebEx?
Commissioner DiDomenico, no.
No, okay. All right, well, we're going to hear this case, but it looks like the applicant may either join us late or not be participating. Lily, do you want to come up and tell us about this?
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'll state my name for the record. Lily Drosos, Planner 1, City of Tempe Community Development. This request is a use permit to allow a tobacco retailer within the PCC1 Planned Commercial Center Neighborhood Zoning District. It's located at the northwest corner of Rural and Elliott Roads. This is a suite map, and you can see Suite A13 on the lower west side of the property. Next slide. This is the proposed floor plan. It is 1,290 square feet. Next slide. While looking at the approval criteria, staff made recommendation based off of how it would fit. The site is an existing commercial center, and a significant increase in traffic is not expected. The proposed use is not expected to cause any nuisances and is expected to adhere to applicable smoking ordinances. The use is a permitted use subject to a use permit and conforms with the use separation requirements for tobacco retailer, which is 1,320 feet from the lot line of any primary or secondary education. It is a commercial use within an existing commercial center, and the business is expected to monitor customer behavior and have adequate control of disruptive activity. A neighborhood meeting was not required for this case. There have been 14 comments from the public, 13 of which were in opposition and 1 of interest. Most of these comments were concerned about the childcare facility within the same shopping plaza, and the other concerns were that there are already some smoke shops in the area and that it wouldn't fit the context of the neighborhood.
Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Amorosi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Drosos, do you know if the owner, Jingling Du, owns any other smoke shops in the area?
Chair DiDomenico and Commissioner Amorosi, I'm not sure that if he owns any other smoke shops in the area.
Thank you.
Vice Chair? Oh, your trigger finger, I was trying to read your body language. You mentioned, I think in pre-session, Lily, that you made several attempts, and it's been a while since we've heard from the applicant. So he hasn't responded, and you've tried by email, text. How have you tried to get a hold of him?
Yes, Chair DiDomenico, members of the commission. He was responsive during the review period and was able to make revisions on his submittal during that time. However, I've kept a log of all of our communication, and he hasn't responded to anything since March 10th. I've contacted him maybe 10 times since then.
Okay. It's unusual,
And
possibly concerning.
Yeah, Chairman, I also, the communications were both voicemails as well as emails, so.
Thank you. Other questions from the commission? Commissioner Redmond.
Chairman Domenico, it's more a question of appropriate procedure. There's obviously a fair amount of local concern about the establishment, but probably according to Tempe ordinances, it's a legal establishment. Where do we enter in with judgment about what's good for the neighborhood?
Well, we certainly can.
According to the neighbors.
Yeah, we will take public testimony, assuming that there is some. We'll take discussion amongst the commission. It is not inappropriate or out of line for us to act on a motion if one is presented and seconded, either in favor or against the application, so the use permit. So the participation by the applicant at this point although I wouldn't say it's irrelevant, it could be very, make it more difficult to get questions answered, but we certainly could move forward. So, all right, well, thank you very much. Do we have anyone from the public who wishes to be heard? Come on forward. We'll get you all adjusted here and what we'll ask you to do is just start by just giving us your name and city of residence. You don't need to give us an exact address.
Okay.
And then give us your comments and then stick around because we may have questions for you.
Okay, cool. My last name is Roland, R-O-L-A-N. My first name is Sue. I live at 822 East Chilton Drive in Tempe. That's the Chipperwood development that backs right behind the shopping center. I'm also co-chair of the Chipperwood Neighborhood Association. I just have 4 points, and I will be brief, I promise. Within 2.5 miles, there are 4 tobacco stores that also sell vape. There is 2 designated vape stores, and there's a marijuana dispensary. That's an awful lot of tobacco within that amount of people. The shopping center that the gentleman wants to open the tobacco shop is a family shopping center. It has 4 restaurants. It has the Dairy Queen. It has car washes for both Marcos Deniza and Corona. It has church car washes there. It's all of those stores in there are family owned. To put a tobacco in there is absolutely abhorrent to what the neighborhood wants. It doesn't fit we worked on the character area development plan with the city. It doesn't fit that plan at all. And their target audience is going to be college-age kids and middle-aged adults. And I don't know how many of you have college-age kids, but I remember when my son was in college, I wouldn't want him around that. It also doesn't seem to fit the smoke-free Arizona. We have programs in high schools educating kids against tobacco, educating, the dangers of vape. There seems to be a disconnect when this comes up, and yet we're still trying to get people to stop smoking, and yet we're keep giving these stores. Thank you for listening.
Questions from the commission? And the neighborhood you are involved in and live in is the one directly to the west?
No, it's to the
Or are you
directly
to the north?
to the north.
To the north.
Yeah, because it's like an L shaped.
Gotcha. All right, well, thank you very much. Appreciate you
Thank you.
coming down
Thank you for
and
listening. I
participating.
really appreciate it. Thank you.
Happy to have you. Anyone else in the audience wish to be heard? Suparna, by chance, do we have anybody that's popped up online?
Chairman, we did get one online comment. The person actually said they would be online to comment on them themselves, but I don't see anybody online and no one has registered, but it just came in just a few minutes ago, and I'm happy to read it on the record.
Please.
And this is you have one comment from this person prior that Lily had provided, but this is Sonia. There is no last name on it, but it's Sonia. It's El Grias Child Care and Learning Center. They're opposed to the meeting, the agenda item. And the comment is, I'm reaching out to you regarding this public notice we received last week in regards to Big G Smoke LLC coming into the Fiesta Plaza. We are a family-owned business here in Tempe and are natives to Tempe, Arizona. We have had our child care learning center business in this plaza for 11 years. We do not support a permit to allow a tobacco retailer in our area due to us having our 60 children in our center. Our community does not support this as well. Our business is Alaya's Child Care Learning Center, and we have been involved in the community, and we will continue to serve this community. We have been in this position back in 2018 with another smoke shop, Oasis Vape and Blue Dragon Vapor. If you look back on this case, I believe they were able to open but not distribute tobacco products in this same location. Pursuant to ZDC Section 3-423, use separation requirements, tobacco retailers shall not be located on lot within 1320 feet measured from the straight line in any direction from the lot line of a charter school, private school, or public school, which provides elementary and secondary education. We would like the city to reconsider this permit and not allow this to go through. We have a partnership with state, and even though we are a child care center, we are still considered an educational facility. Our children are our priority, and we will fight to stop the permit for them and for the good of the community.
Thank you. Commissioners, any discussion?
Yes.
Vice
Mr.
Chair.
Chairman, normally I would be very reticent to hear a case without the applicant present to answer questions and basically defend his position. I don't know what the pleasure of the balance of the commission is, but I'll state a few comments for the record if there happens to be a motion for approval. This is a situation that is not unusual, and it's not a situation that is unusually misunderstood by neighbors and other businesses. The use that is in question is a permitted use. It is allowed in the district, subject to meeting the criteria of the use permit. Those criteria are clear, concise, easily spelled out. I'm not a smoker. I'm not a tobacco user. I wouldn't frequent one. I personally abhor smoking. But given that, the zoning ordinance and state statutes and historical case law with regard to permitted uses subject to use permits are clear. So it is not something that we can willy-nilly simply say, no, we don't want it in this location. This shopping center has a long history of varied uses. There's an existing, quote, tobacco retailer in Circle K at the corner. They sell tobacco. They are frequented regularly by people who purchase cigarettes and vaping items, and that's fine. Those are legal substances. The Ike's, located in the northeast corner of the shopping center, used to be a liquor store. And that was some time ago, but it was there. I've been going to the shopping center since the mid-1980s. It's a situation to where I think staff has done an excellent job at outlining the reasons for approval of this. And it's not that we aren't sympathetic to neighborhood concerns, but it is a situation that this is a permitted use. And I believe that the applicant and any applicant for this type of use could very easily meet the criteria of the use permit. It will not cause an increase in traffic. There's already traffic there visiting the businesses. It will not further create to the degradation of the area because we are talking about a retail establishment. So I'm one that while I'm sympathetic, as my duty on this commission, my hands are tied with this application. I'm concerned about the applicant not being here because it's pretty clear if we were to vote in favor, it's going to get appealed by the neighbors. And this applicant had better wake up and start to defend his position, or the city council may feel something completely different than I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other comments or questions? Commissioner Spears?
Well, I agree with Commissioner Bauer in terms of what is an allowed use, and this certainly meets that criteria. I am concerned that the applicant is missing in action, and I think it might be appropriate that we have a delay in this issue, and I would actually send certified mail saying you've been rescheduled to a date specific, and if you don't, then, your case is withdrawn or whatever.
Commissioner Corbett, I want to make sure that we're not missing any comments you may have. Is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I would say I agree with Commissioner Bauer's comments.
Okay, thank you. I'm in line here. The lack of participation concerns me because we're looking for an operator that would be a good neighbor and is going to stand behind what they've put in their application as far as how they're going to operate the business. And the lack of communication for over a month, the lack of participation in this process tonight tells me that, that either maybe they're not going to be that good neighbor that we hope, or that they've changed their mind and have decided not to move forward with this, in which case, we're going through a process to waste a lot of time and frankly, a lot of neighborhood energy to appeal it. The other thing that surprised me a lot is we had several comments from other business owners in that shopping center. And I'm very surprised that the first place they went to complain wasn't to the landlord of the shopping center if they don't approve of the new use that's proposed to be their neighbor, as opposed to coming to our property. So I'm kind of leaning towards a continuance, and given that we haven't heard from the applicant in 2 weeks, I hate to just assign a date. I'm looking for a little staff advice. Would we, if we're considering a continuance, are we better off to leave it to a date uncertain for them to come back and request one?
Chairman, that's exactly what I was looking at. For the deadline calendar, either the commission can choose a date specific that's a little bit further out to give staff some opportunity to contact again, or send a certified letter, as Commissioner Spears mentioned. With that, we do have a date-specific option, or else we can try to reschedule because everything will have to be reposted anyway. We can do that if it's not date-specific.
I suppose, I'm thinking out loud here. This isn't a motion, but I'm thinking that I'd be more comfortable just notifying the applicant that there was a motion for continuance, and assuming that that's what we vote in favor of, that we just leave the onus on them to get back to us and request a date that would fit the calendar. And if they've changed their mind, then they may not come back. If their business needs have changed, or maybe they found another location. So I would consider, if there's no more comments, we could have Commissioner Redmond.
Commissioners, I'm very happy with the idea of a continuance, and I'm very uncomfortable with 14 people volunteering negative comments and the person isn't here to answer them. I also am a little bit uncomfortable with Vice Chair Bauer's position, and it may be uniformly held. It seems the reason we're here is to decide things that aren't crystal clear in the law, or they're overriding issues. If it's strictly a matter of what works with the current uses and zoning, then I'm not sure what our role is. And somewhere in there, we need to adjudicate what fits and what doesn't fit. And this may fit, and that's fine. But I would like to think that we do have a role beyond that.
Commissioner Amorosi, your light is on.
Yes.
Is that,
Thank you, Chair DiDomenico. I'm going to make a motion for a continuance on a date that is amenable to the applicant for PL 220050, and make that motion to continue this case.
do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Amorosi and seconded by Vice Chair Bauer. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll first call for a verbal to Commissioner Corbett. Commissioner Corbett, do you want to weigh in verbally, yea or nay on the motion?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yay.
Thank you very much. I know I should have warned you instead of surprising you. All the rest, we can vote by a show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, the motion for continuance carries unanimously. Thank you very much. For members of the public, both in the audience and on Channel 11, what this means is that there is no date, but once a date has been set, if this case continues to move forward, it will be published. There will be ample notification, and there will be additional chances to come back here, hopefully in person, to speak again and be heard if that's necessary. Thank you very much for participating. That brings us to item number 4 on our agenda. Just as a reminder, this item is a little bit different. We are the recommending body and not the deciding body here. Our recommendation, when it moves forward, goes to City Council, and from that point, people would then need to think about whether they're aggrieved and want to appeal. I would ask the applicant to come up and make a presentation. And we did mention in pre-session that maybe we've got some new information or a new stipulation that we'll need to read into the record.
We do. Good evening, Charles Humano for the record. It is. We originally had Big D's House as the name, but it was too close to the other name tonight, so we're glad we changed it. But I noticed you mentioned the name, Mr. Chairman, so we appreciate that. I'll run it for you. All right, thank you. I think you're probably all familiar with this location, but let me just talk about it for a minute. I planned for a longer presentation, not knowing what might occur, so I may skip through some of the slides and happy to go back and spend more time if you'd like. But the site has been part of an industrial complex for some time. In fact, so long that Priest Drive didn't connect to the freeway. Priest Drive has certainly changed significantly over time. It's now a road of regional significance, connects to the airport, to the freeway, and lots of other things, potentially a Coyotes Arena in the long run, and lots of other things. So the site along Priest is no longer really desirable as part of an industrial park. And in fact, speaking to that, the city has approved over the years 2 hotels immediately adjacent to the site. If I could move to the next slide, please. I'm just going to show you a few pictures of what the site looks like today. Next slide, please. You can see in this site, the hotels were built with a beautiful view overlooking the service yard. Again, it's a pretty dilapidated property. The site plan you have in your packet takes advantage of the site, creates a new street frontage, but also adapts to what what Priest has become over time. Let's keep moving forward. I'll show you some of the images of what we've proposed. This is the west elevation, the east elevation, the other elevations, the first rendering, second rendering. This area, we go back. This is important. I want you to see where it says leasing center here. I'm going to talk about that when we talk about the new stipulation. Next slide. Next slide. One more. So one of the things that I have learned over the last couple of days, we've received some communication from some of the commissioners' suggestions as to what might make the project better. Again, I'm happy to go through the rest of the presentation, but it seems like this is the only thing that's really changed since you have seen the packet. And one of the things that we learned is that some of the commissioners felt like maybe we should have more commercial. This is an interesting area. I mentioned before, this is an industrial site that's transforming, as is much of Tempe, certainly by the freeway. And one of the things we heard is they'd like to have more commercial. So we're proposing a stipulation that says the applicant shall work with staff to convert prior to submitting for building permits a minimum of 500 square feet of space marked as leasing co-working space on the site plan, which I'll show you in a moment, to a commercial use which shall be open to the public, which may include a coffee shop. This shall not change the parking requirement for the project. Next slide, and we'll stay there for a minute. This is a blow-up of the site plan. That blue area is the leasing area I showed you just a few moments ago. Some of that will still be leasing space, but Crescent Communities, and Ken is here with Crescent Communities, is developing this project, and they have an agreement with a company called Land of 1,000 Hills that does coffee in many cities, but in Phoenix, they do them as part of Crescent Communities. This is something we were planning to do anyway. That the development with Land of 1,000 Hills has solidified since we started this process, which has been sort of a while. And so it makes sense to add that additional retail component to the site. One of the questions, I believe, is the chairman that asked in the pre-session was, is this addition to or substitute for the live-work units? This is in addition to it. The live-work units still stay. We think those are a valuable piece, especially as the area along Priest changes, and it provides good character for a project of this size, but we'll also add the retail. We have shared that stipulation with staff, and my understanding is that staff is in agreement with that stipulation. This is the last slide I'll show for now, and I'm happy to answer any questions or go into more detail. But this, I think, is designed to show the significant amenity change to this area. We've really worked hard. We know one of Tempe's goals has been to create better streetscapes and more shaded walkways. I think this is a stark contrast from seeing a service yard that has really no shade, to walkable walkways, shaded walkways, as well as two significant amenity areas. I'm happy to go through the full presentation, spend more time, but I think what I heard during pre-session is you really wanted me to cover the additional stipulation.
That is true. We can go right into, there may be other points of interest that some of the commissioners may have on the design or the site plan itself. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Scott was here, he would. Scott he has always a good design question or two. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. We hope you'll approve Big D's house.
Big D's house. Yes, that 500 square feet of retail, I'll tell you what it can't be.
Big D's coffee house.
There, coffee house. All right. Lee, do you want to come up and add to the presentation?
Good evening. My name is Lee Jimenez. I'm a senior planner with the Community Development Department in the Planning Division. Chair Domenico, members of the commission, I just want to state some facts to the case. So Priest and Third is it's a new mixed-use project between Priest and Linden, just north of Third. Project consists of a 5-level parking garage wrapped with 4 stories of dwelling units, apartment units. So there's 328 units total, 3 of which are live-work units. And then the site is provided with some amenities such as pools, spas, lounges, dog runs, a dog wash, an outdoor gaming area, and some dining areas on the outside. The requested entitlements that are presented tonight are 2 general plan amendments, the first of which is a map amendment from a no-density designation to a high-density urban core designation, which sets it up for more than 65 dwelling units per acre. The second amendment for the general plan is another map amendment from an industrial use to a mixed use. And then we have our zoning map amendment to go from a GID zoning district to a MU4. And then along with that, we have a planned area development, which is to establish the development standards for this new mixed-use project, which is a density of 66 dwelling units per acre, a maximum building height of 54 feet, maximum lot coverage of 62%, and a landscape coverage of 27%. And then establish minimum front street side rear building setbacks, along with the development plan review, which is for the site plan, the building elevations, and the landscape plan. So a neighborhood meeting was required for this project. It was held on March 8th at 5:30. Staff attended, however, no one from the public attended. And then throughout the advertisement of these hearing items, there have been no public comments received by staff. And then as far as the conditions of approval for the project, there are two unique conditions of approval in the DPR section. They're specifically it's number 29 and number 30, and they deal with the location or placement of the required street trees along the street frontage. There's been, throughout the review process, there's been some conflicts between that a public utility easement that runs along the street frontage, as well as the separation requirements between the trunk of a tree and the location of the public wet utility line, which in this case is a water line. And so it's just going and making sure that the trees are placed according to the standards required by the root bear city detail, as well as staying outside of the public utility easement, because that is a requirement. No deep-rooted trees, structures, poles, et cetera, are allowed within the public utility easement. And then along with the applicant's proposed condition of approval, so if that were to be considered and added as a condition, that would become DPR condition number 14. And then the remaining conditions of approval, including the non-standard that I mentioned earlier, just move up an increment and shift up basically in the numbering system. And just for the record, we did have a slide with the language, but I can read into the record the condition that is proposed by the applicant, which is applicant shall work with staff to convert, prior to submitting for building permits, a minimum of 500 square feet of space marked as leasing, co-working space on the site plan. And in parentheses, the commercial space exhibit dated April 12th, 2022, close parentheses, to a commercial use which shall be open to the public, which may include a coffee shop. This shall not change the parking requirement for the project. And with that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Questions from the commission? You got it covered. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, I will call to the audience. Do we have anybody who wishes to be heard? All right, nothing online. All right, we will close the public portion of this case. Mr. Hulemantel, would you like to add anything?
No, thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I don't have anything to add.
Any final? Commissioner Amorosi.
Mr. Humantel, is this going to be market rate housing or luxury housing or?
It'll be market rate.
Market rate? All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Roughly what's timing on a project of this size?
Never as fast as we would like, and it's certainly harder to say during COVID. I would expect that we would spend at least the next 6 to 9 months doing construction documents. We're anxious to move immediately into construction, and I would guess that's an 18 to 24-month build time, given the environment we live in today.
Is this a phased project, or will it be built all at once?
It is. It's a single phase.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any discussion or motions? I always like a good motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm willing to offer a motion for approval of, I'm looking for it here, PL 210288, subject to the stipulations as modified at the hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Chair Bauer and seconded by Commissioner Amorosi. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call the question. Commissioner Corbett?
Yay.
Thank you very much. All right, and by a show of hands, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Thank you very much. This will be presented to council. Is it calendared already?
Chairman, yes. It is on April 28th, City Council, I believe, for the first hearing.
April 28th. Wonderful. Any other announcements? Do we need to talk about or do a reminder for our outing?
I will be finalizing some details of the tour still. Most likely, we will start at the Hayden House and then end at downtown so we can park at our Fifth Street garage. But I will send all those details out for the 22nd as well as for the 29th. And then one other reminder for anybody who has not done it yet. Mayor would send another email to the boards and commission liaisons about the boards and commissions appreciation get-together for May 6th. If people can go and sign up or RSVP through that
Oh,
event.
that's right. We were supposed to RSVP for that
Event,
thing.
it's an Eventbrite, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think I did. I
Okay.
remember that now.
Okay.
Thank you.
So just wanted to give a reminder of that.
Is any-
And also, let me give you one more heads up. I didn't want to bombard everybody with emails today because of the meeting and all those other things that was going on with emails and public comments. But I will be sending you most likely tomorrow a letter drafted by Ambika Adhikari and Shauna Warner regarding the Tempe General Plan 2050 process starting. And we would be requesting for 2 DRC members to participate in the technical advisory group. And I will be agendizing that for the May 10th study session so that we can discuss and nominate 2 people during that time. But I will give you the information in advance so you have a chance to look at the time commitment and other things based on, it's a year and a half long process. So this will give you some time to think about it.
This is how you know you've been around for a long time, because I know at least Linda and I did the last one, and so I'm assuming that's 20 years ago.
And I've done,
10 years ago.
10 years, and
I started with 2020.
yeah, 2020 was my
There's your
first
2
also.
nominees right there.
No. And now it's time to turn it over, let other people have the fun. No, seriously consider it, because it is an incredibly important process that goes on there. So I've got one announcement. For those of you who have ever heard of an event called Ignite the Night, April 24th, local musician Zoe Bowie grew up in South Tempe, will be performing there. It's out at Rawhide, indoors, April 24th. If you're interested, go to tempediablos.org, and you can get all the information you'd want. It's a fun event. I'm sure Linda will be there. Anything else, anyone? No? All right, thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
Congrats on getting there.